So the only important characters are myself, the DM, and the female playing an Aasimar. So I had been DMing a game of 5e at this point for a few months, but never actually played, so I wanted to get some experience playing both for fun and to help me learn stuff from other DMs for my current game. I searched a bunch of different areas, and eventually got a response from a guy who said that he's running 2 groups in the same world. Cool, I thought. Maybe we'll go on opposing quests and end up being enemies unknowingly, or maybe become allies and 8v1 the big bad evil guy. He adds me on Discord and interviews me in voice chat first. He asks me my experience playing, if I'm comfortable staying in character, etc. All goes well. He then asks me my character idea. I tell him I'm playing a war domain character who started life as the church's hound. This church was of a god of law and order for flavor. He was an inquisitor who brings criminals to the church to be, more often than not, executed. He decides that this is too cruel and leaves his church behind, following a god of forgiveness instead. He tells me, "You can't pick god of forgiveness, pick war domain." I tell him the god of forgiveness thing can change, I guess, but that with war domain, I'd be doing most of the harm myself while I focus on protection spells. This would show my god caring about protection. He just says, "You're not understand what I'm saying." Full stop, no elaboration. He tells me I can pick a god of retribution. I think he meant to say redemption, since that's basically the idea my character leaves behind, and I just agree to move on. Then he starts making me a custom domain. He says, "Since you're making a new domain, you're going to need to choose all your spells and channel divinity moves." I tell him that sounds like a lot of work, and that I just wanted to use the war domain since I know it's at least relatively balanced. He then just says, "I've done this so many times before, it's not hard." I tell him I don't want to get bad spells and lose my heavy armor proficiency. He says, "You shouldn't only be thinking about combat." Not having heavy armor would completely change the flavor and image I have for my character, and combat still matters to a degree, even if it's not a combat-focused campaign. But I just go along with it to see where this goes. Maybe I can fight for it later. We start with level 1 spells. I tell him I want the Divine Favor spell, the one that the war domain gets. He begrudgingly agrees. Then I suggest Sealed. He flat out says no, and then tells me that I get Heroism as my other one. So wait, now he's not even letting me choose the spells? I look at it and I tell him that I plan on using spells like Hold Person a lot, and I don't want to be stuck with a concentration spell that seems not that useful later on. We were starting at level 3, so Hold Person was just around the corner. Though I also didn't notice it when it said temporary health every turn, so it might have been good, but whatever. I then suggest Charm Person, something the Trickster domain gets, and he tells me, "Charm Person isn't a cleric-y spell." I tell him one of the clerics literally gets it at level 1, but he doesn't listen. He just goes, "Why are you fighting with me on this? I'm the DM." And then I just deadpan respond, "Because I came here with a character and a domain already decided, and you're trying to change that on me." He finally caves and goes, "Fine, you can be war domain, but you can't follow a god of forgiveness." Didn't we already establish this? And then he tells me to give him a backstory. I could tell at this point this is going to be a huge disaster, but I figure since I got nothing else going on that day of the game, I might as well stick around and see how bad it gets. Best decision of my life. He invites me to his Discord, and I go look through the posts in it to see what people are like and when he started. He started 3 weeks ago at the time that I had joined, and in those 3 weeks, he lost 3 members. He also said some weird stuff, which I won't go into detail in, but too long didn't read, it was pretty weird. In the days leading up to the session, things only got worse. Most notably, there was one girl in the group. Our group is Team 2 and the second group is Team 1, and the DM was blatantly flirting with her, calling her character sassy, and talking about how excited he was to see her played. I later found out that he apparently told her in her interview, "I never played with women before." He didn't talk this way to anyone else or about anyone else's character. He didn't reply to me when I sent him my backstory, even by the day of the session. The day before the session, I played a game with him and he was complaining the entire time and just clearly had a bad attitude in general. He also made us add all our character sheets on D&D Beyond, which, unless you spend money, only allows you to pick Life Domain Cleric. I have the physical books, and I just made a PDF of my character sheet, but I had to try to translate that into free D&D Beyond, which meant not picking a domain and adding proficiency to every material and heavy armor individually, since you can't just add martial/heavy weapon proficiency. Also, I couldn't add my channel divinity. Needless to say, I was going to be looking at my PDF sheet anyway. Afternoon of the final day. 3 hours remain. D&D Beyond goes down, of course, and he tells all of us 3 hours before the session starts to join his game on Roll20 and make our character sheets there. At the same time, one of the players bails on us and the DM adds 3 players until one stays because they keep leaving at his character creation nonsense, but sooner or later, we finally have our 5-person party. I was literally picking up my wallet and was about to go out before the session, and he tells us this, so I just decided to do that later. I have a PDF of it anyway, so I get home, eat food, and get on with 30 minutes before the session. Everyone's in on Roll20. Me and the girl playing the ASMR, forget the class, are making our character sheets. The DM gets passive-aggressive and says, "You guys had 3 hours to complete this. Come on, why is this not done yet?" I say, "Because you told us to make a new character sheet 3 hours before the session? Because, you know, people planned for the game to start at 7, not 4, and had made plans before then." He then tells us to open Tabletop Simulator. We do. I check friend games, and he's there, but there's a password. I figured since he didn't tell us the password, he was still setting stuff up. 5 minutes later, he snaps and goes, "Why aren't you guys in yet? What's taking so long?" At this point, I'm laughing at his ridiculous behavior, and I just go, we need the password. And he tells us what it is, as if we should have known. At this point, you might be catching on to the fact that he likes to raise his voice. The ASMR noticed this too, and started getting quiet. We all join the game, and the DM plays with the miniatures, and goes, "Do we have a paladin?" No one responds. None of us are paladins, but several people changed their class several times, and none of us are certain anymore. After a few moments of silence, he goes, "Hello? Hello? Hello? Did you mute me?" Other players try to calm him down, and I'm giggling at this like an idiot. A bit later, he asks the Asamar a question. I didn't hear what. She didn't respond immediately, and after waiting about 2 whole seconds, he goes, "Hello? Hello? Hello?" And one of the guys just goes, "Dude, we can hear you." Asamar just disconnects. At this point, I'm rolling with laughter. Thanks, Push to Talk, and the end of the session is in sight. Cue about 10 minutes of the DM mumbling and awkward silence before he cancels the game. You could tell by the silence everybody knew she left because they're all sick of its behavior too. He later says in Discord that the game was cancelled because 2 people didn't show up, then follows up with, "It's kinda messed up, to be honest." At this point, we didn't know if the ASMR had left or lost internet, and the other player was just running late. Completely unnecessary stab at them. Of course, the ASMR left because the DM was creepy and was being a jerk to everyone. I knew it was going to be bad by character creation and had considered leaving, but after his strange comments and flirting with the ASMR, I knew it was going to be too big a train wreck to miss out on, and how right I was. The next day, the DM tells us that the ASMR left and blocked him. I DM her laughter, followed by good idea. And I get a little bit more insight from her about how he changed her character a ton, and ultimately made her decide to change characters since it wasn't hers anymore. There was also the uncomfortable comments bonus reel, like the time he implied kobolds were hot. Oh yes, I forgot to mention that he didn't actually have an adventure planned, and was actually going to just redo the adventure that he gave Team 1. So, despite us being two different teams in the same world, we were just going to do the exact same things. To be frank, the DM sounds like a child. He is impatient and wants complete control over everything. I'm actually really glad that this session died before it even happened, but I do kind of feel bad for the other group that's still playing with them. What do you all think about this story?